Every semester is the same story. First day of school and everybody makes the same promise. I'll start reading from day one. You must have probably made this promise to yourself too. But here's the truth. It's not about whether you start reading from day one. And I know this sounds kind of weird coming from somebody that graduated as the best graduating student with a 4.9 CGPA. But stay with me. It's not about when you start to read, but it's about whether you have a system, and most students don't. Today, I'm breaking down the systems I used, the actual step-by-step system. Step 1, you need to know what you're actually being graded on. Most people start the semester with just one goal. I want to get all A's, but that's just a mere wish. You need to know how this A is built. What's the minimum percentage you need to get throughout the whole semester to get you that A? In my situation, back when I was in school, it was 70%, and this 70% was broken down into assessments and then the final exam. And this multiple assessment score got in place of group presentations, tests, and assignments. And in total, this multiple assessment made up 30% of our total score, and our final exam made up 70% of our total score. And I understood that if I wanted to get an A, I need to understand what this A is made up of. So once you know the structure, changes everything. For example, my situation where I understood that my assessment was 30% and my final exam was 70% of the total work, and I needed at least 70% to get an A, I knew that I had to start working on the assessment area. If I could secure 30 marks in my assessment, 30 over 30, it would reduce the amount of work I needed to put in for the examinations. So I knew that I needed, if I could secure 30 marks for my test, I needed a minimum of 40 to get an A. This way you break down your long-term goal or your long-term wishes into measurable, achievable units. This brings me to my second step, breaking it into micro goals. Here's where people get stuck. They stick the whole thing as one big goal. I want to get all A's, I want to get 5.0, and they don't break it down into measurable objectives. Imagine just walking around saying, I want to get 70 over 100, and then the little things that are in front of you that can help you make up that 70, you are not focusing on it because of you've not broken your giant goal into those little goals, and that becomes overwhelming. And that is why many people end up abandoning their plans and their goals by week 3 after starting the semester saying that they're going to start reading early from day 1, and then they might actually start, but by week 3 they're already tired because they've not broken it down into simple goals that they can work with. Based on my experience, what I would typically do was that when the semester started, after setting my goals that okay, this semester I have to graduate with an A, I would break it down that okay, for me to graduate with an A, I need to try as much as possible to get up to 30 marks in my test scores. And this test scores, not like I'm getting the 30 marks at once. These assessments and continuous assessments are broken down into 2 or 3 different units. Sometimes it can be group presentation, sometimes it can be tests, sometimes it can be assignments. So I'm not just from the beginning trying to read everything. I'm working according to my goals. So whatever it is in front of me, okay, we're doing tests this week, I'll prepare my best for that test to make sure I score my best grade. This brings me up to step 3. Focus on one thing at a time. Yes, we know that you have the goal of getting a 5.0 at the end of the semester. Yes, we know that you have a goal of getting all A's. But remember, we've broken down this goal into little objectives that okay, I must get 10 over 10 in this particular test, and I must get 10 in the test 2. I must get 10 over 10 in my assignment. That's a total of 30 marks continuous assessment, and before you can even start thinking of a final exam. So focus on what is right in front of you. You cannot just start the semester and say that okay, I will start reading every day so that once it's time for exam I will pass and get an A. No, what is the smallest unit of that particular giant goal that you're trying to achieve? You're trying to get an A, but what's the smallest unit? The test that is happening maybe in 4 or week 5, right? So you don't necessarily start reading for the whole semester at the beginning. You are reading towards that test that is happening in week 4 or week 5. Okay, so you're focusing on one thing at a time. So when it's time for you to read for the test, put in your effort, read for the test, and then you move on. Sometimes you can evaluate and feel like and think, I feel more confident in this particular subject, and then I don't feel as confident in this particular subject. This is where focusing on one thing comes into play. You don't say that, oh, because I want to get all A's, I would not read everything at once. No, you would focus on the one that you feel less confident, because let's say for example in the first test that you didn't like the way your score was, you want your score to be higher in the next test. You then focus on that one thing. Do you see where the point is? You have a giant goal, but instead at that point in time you're focusing that at this particular test I want to do my best. Right, and this is where many people miss out. This brings me up to my step 4. Finish it and let it go. Don't dwell too much on it. Once you've written a test, and whether it goes good or bad, obviously you're going to we're going to take out data from how that test went to know how to plan your future test, but don't dwell too much around it, right? What is the next important thing that you need to work towards to actually achieve that goal? For example, you could be doing like 10 courses, and each day during test week you have a course to write a test on. For example, on Monday you write a test on Monday, and then Monday test doesn't go as well because of not understand how to apply a particular concept that you read to answer the question. After the test, you move on and you read for Tuesday's test. You don't start going back to it and saying that I need to now reread this so that when it comes out in the exam, I need to be ready. When you have something directly in front of you at that point in time, you finish it and let it go. That's not the next important thing. You need to focus on what is the next important thing for me to do. Right, so learn to be able to finish and let go. So when you finish that test, you let it go, you focus on the next test. And then this brings me up to my last and final step, which is tally up before the exam. So this is basically what I'm saying. By the time your assignments and your tests and your group presentations are done, you begin to add them up and see what you have achieved so far. Remember, we divided the semester into the continuous assessment and the final exam, and we said that the continuous assessment in this scenario gives you need to get at least, if the total mark you can achieve is 30 marks, and your aim is to try and get that 30 marks, so it reduces the goal that you have to put in for example minimum of 40 marks. So now done everything that you can do and you've seen the results, you now have to focus on what can you control. So you add up all the scores that you've gotten and then compare them to what your actual goals were, and then what difference do you need to make in exam to actually reach your goal of scoring 70 over 100 or scoring an A. For example, in a course that you scored 15 over 30 in your continuous assessment, you know that for me to get an A, which is 70 marks in total, I will need to score at least 55 in my examinations. For a course that you scored 25 over 30, you know that for me to score an A, which is 70% over 100, I need to score at least 45 over 70 in my examinations. This way you know exactly what you need in your examinations, you know the target that you are aiming for, and more importantly, you know exactly which subjects and courses are giving you more trouble than the others. So you know how to align your resources of time and study and pay attention to those courses that are giving you more trouble. So most of your preparation for your final exam will go directed more into those courses, and then also you prepare extensively for the other courses so that you make sure you achieve all that you have set for those courses. Now, the reason why I've broken this down is that high achievers are not necessarily the smartest people. They are just the ones that are able to break down their goals into systems and then follow this system and structure in a way that help them achieve their goal. You must not necessarily be the smartest to get a 5.0. You just need to understand cheat code, and the cheat code is that you have to break down everything into achievable and measurable units.
That's the system. Know your structure, break it down into smaller goals, focus on one thing at a time, finish and let go, then tally up before the final exam. It's not about who starts reading on the first day, it's about who has a system that doesn't fall apart by week 5. If this has helped you, let me know in the comment section what course you're studying and what you're trying to figure out right now. I read every comment. Subscribe to this channel, and for the next one in this series, we're going even deeper. We're going to learn how to prioritize when it comes to study, how to prioritize when you can study everything. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.